This past October, we had the Wind Up Watch Fair here in New York, and there were tons of brands that I wanted to visit. But one of the brands I really wanted to check out was Long Island Watches. Even though they are located just a few miles away from where I live, I really haven't gotten hands-on with many of their watches, and I was really excited to see all of their offerings. One of their offerings really captured my eye. It's their GMT. It's a high-end GMT. This is probably one of their more expensive watches, but I have to say it's beautifully made, and I'm really excited to have it hands-on here today to show you guys. So let's flip the camera and take a look at Islander watches and their GMT. So when I was at the Wind Up Watch Fair, I actually didn't get a chance to speak with Mark directly about his watches. I went up to his booth, he was there, I just didn't introduce myself because I'm a little bit of a shy person when it comes to meeting people. I've always been that way, and ironically, I didn't even say hello. However, I did contact him after the fact, after the show, and I asked him if I could get some watches in for review, and of course, here we are. This was the watch that really took me by surprise when I was looking at his booth. This is sort of a higher end watch from Islander, and you're gonna see immediately when you look at this watch, you have a sapphire bezel, a flat sapphire crystal with AR coating. It is an homage to maybe a few different GMTs. I think the most that I see here is from Bell & Ross, maybe. You also have the GMT hand, which is a little jet that takes inspiration from Bell & Ross, but also Tag Heuer. There are a few brands that actually did that for not GMTs, but for chronographs, and usually those were Le Mania chronographs. I think the 5100s actually own a watch with that hand. Anyway, but that's what I see. I see inspiration from those watches, but they're definitely not a direct homage. In fact, the Bell & Ross that I'm talking about has crown guards, very different case. Sapphire bezel, that is loomed, and it is really very nice and grippy, and it is bidirectional. So you have really good sound to it. It is polished, but I'm actually able to grip it pretty well, and everything lines up. You have a chapter ring, that's a 24-hour chapter ring as well, and it's blue and white just like the bezel, which is really nice actually. So it sort of balances a little bit. You don't have a bunch of other colors. It looks and works really well. You have applied indices. Those are filled with lume. Then you have these big sort of sword hands with black centers. Those are filled with lume as well. You have that really cool GMT hand with the orange jet at the end. That's the only other color besides blue and white on this watch. I like it. They did a good job. And then of course you have the second hand. I believe that entire second hand is lume, but of course, we will do a lume shot at the end. Again, you have the black counterbalance on it as well, so everything towards the center is black, which looks great. You have a blue dial on here, and then, of course, you have the Islander logo. This is 200 meters of water resistance, which is great. So you have a screwed-in crown and a screwed-in case back. The case on here is finished very nicely. I'm very impressed. You have a signed crown as well. Again, you have the Islander logo. Islander watches are actually located pretty close to where I live. They are located on Long Island, so am I. And this is named after an airport in Farmingdale, New York, on Long Island as well. It's called Republic. That's the name of this watch, and that's the Republic Airport. I don't remember the call numbers or whatever they call the airport code for Republic Airport, but I think their offices are very close to that airport. In fact, I think Mark from Long Island Watches is taking flight lessons at that airport. So there you go. So there's some sort of connection to it. And usually they name a lot of their watches after Long Island landmarks or towns and things like that. Really cool, taking inspiration from where they're from. The bracelet on here is an oyster style bracelet, but it's like a multi-link oyster style bracelet, sort of reminiscent of a Grand Seiko bracelet or a Seiko bracelet, with these two lines of polish that go down the center on either side of the center link. I'm usually not a huge fan of that, but recently I've been warming up to it, and I have to say this is executed very well. It's really nice. You have polishing on the sides, you have big screws for all of the links. You don't have any half links, and you do get a pretty generic micro brand buckle. It's very functional, of course, and it feels really nice, obviously well made, and you have 4 positions of micro adjust. It is signed with the Islander logo right there. So I would like to see a little bit nicer of a buckle on here, but like I said, it's very functional. These buckles are very reliable and functional. I would like to see a little bit of on the fly micro adjust. Of course, manual micro adjust works, but if you had some half links and then a little bit more micro adjust on here or on the fly micro adjust, obviously you would be able to get a really good fit. On the back of the watch, again, have the Islander logo. You have a little bit of a, I guess that is the lighthouse from either Jones Beach or Montauk Point. I don't remember. I know that Mark has probably said this in the past, but really nice case back. Everything is engraved beautifully. It feels smooth. This definitely feels like a more upscale product than other Islanders that I've had on the channel, and usually those watches are really nice as well. They're just not at this level. And I think they were charging around $800 or $900 for this watch. Currently it's on sale for like $695. By the way, I haven't even told you what movement it is in here yet, and it is a Swiss movement. It's a Sellita SW330-2. So you have a date. The date is between the 4 and the 5 o'clock position. It is color matched. Kind of disappears a little bit. I wish that it was either at the 6 o'clock or the 3 o'clock, and they did a color match so you can't see it as much, but I prefer no date whatsoever. But if you have to have a date, I think they did a good job with it. Anyway, like I said, this is powered by a Sellita SW330, which means that this has a Swiss-made, pretty thin GMT movement inside. And of course, the SW330 is a higher end movement than the SW200. The SW300 series are meant to be a higher grade movement than the SW200, which means obviously it's more expensive. But the added benefits of the 300 is that it is thinner. So let's do quick measurements. I believe they say this is a 40 millimeter watch. At the bezel, it's just about 40 millimeters, 11.7 millimeters thick. Now, keep in mind this is a 200 meter dive watch with a GMT movement inside. That is excellent. Under 12 millimeters thick, 5.8 millimeter crown, 46.3 millimeter lug to lug with that bracelet, 51.7, because you do have male end links. So, you know, just keep that in mind for your wrist, depending on your wrist. You do have AR coating on the flat sapphire crystal. I like a flat sapphire crystal because as you can see in my studio lights, when I have it positioned in a certain way, it basically melts away, and when it's not, you just get that little blue haze on it, which looks good. So it's very legible, very easy to read. Very quickly, let me throw it on my wrist. I have on a pretty amazing watch. This is the Omega Speedmaster 57, and it is a hand-wound chronograph from Omega that you know, just recently came out, just in the past year, and it is a really phenomenal watch with a very good looking hand-wound coaxial movement inside. Big display on the back of this watch too. Look at that. Box sapphire crystal, really good looking watch overall. So here is the Islander on my 7.5 inch wrist, unsized. I have a 7.5 inch wrist. This is a 40 millimeter watch. It's basically 40.5 millimeters at that bezel, and you have a 46 millimeter lug span. It's around 51 and change at the actual bracelet, but that has no effect on my wrist whatsoever. And I think you could pull this off with a much smaller wrist with no problems from that bracelet. I would imagine this would look good on a strap as well. I have no idea if they offer this on a strap. I know they have a few different colors, I think 2 other colors, but this is definitely one of the best colors here. This blue and white combination is just awesome. Really a good looking watch. Very quickly, Loom Shot. I have to say, this is an amazing watch. I really like it. $695. This has got to be one of the better GMTs I've had on the channel in a while. It is a collar GMT. It's an office GMT, you know, because that is the Sellita ETA way of creating a GMT currently. But that doesn't really take away from the watch for me. I think it's an awesome watch, and it's really well made. Very, very well made. It definitely is a premium product from Islander Watches at not a premium price. $695 for this watch is really, really good, and the lume is phenomenal. Essentially a lumed bezel. You have the lumed indices, but the bottom portion, the white portion of the bezel itself, is completely lume. It's amazing. It looks great. It's very bright. And then, of course, the applied indices are very liberally applied with lume, and then the hands are liberally applied with lume. And of course, like I said, they lume the entire second hand. I think I want to buy one of these. This is pretty awesome. You know, if you do look at the Bell & Ross that I am talking about, it does get crown guards, a little bit different from this watch. I believe they charge around $3,000 for that watch. And earlier, I think currently they may use an in-house movement, but earlier versions used a Sellita SW330 or an ETA 2893, the GMT version. Absolutely 100% sure of that. And they were charging literally 5 times the price. So, I don't know. You tell me. Tell me what you guys think down in the comments below. I'm very impressed, obviously. And you can see the lume hanging on. I didn't really even charge it for very long. And it's hanging on very, very well. Obviously, Mark and Long Island Watches and Islander Watches know that, you know, lume is important to people. Tell me what you guys think down in the comments below. I want to hear from you guys. Please also don't forget to like and subscribe, hit that bell icon. It is super helpful for the channel, and I very much appreciate it. Please follow me on Instagram. My Instagram is WatchChrisBlog, all one word. I have some links in the description. Those links are to Amazon. If you click those links and buy anything, it helps support the channel. It doesn't cost you anything extra. However, I very much appreciate it. Anyway, thank you for logging on. I'll catch you guys in the next video.